fellow social media marketers, Professor Walters here, and today we're here in Paris. And today we're going to talk about are some of the common mistakes that brands, businesses, and people make on X, or Twitter, as I'll probably call it 9 times in this video. Look, Twitter is a very popular platform and people like to use it for instant talking. It's all about being the trending topic and talking about that trending topic. It's not about old news, it's about instant news, okay? And I think one of the common mistakes people make when they're using Twitter is they don't use the fact that people are on there for instant knowledge about today's topical stuff. Because you don't want to ignore current trends, you know? If you're in a business, like I'm here in Paris and I'm here in the summertime, and when people are talking about Paris and summertime and travel, talking about over tourism, that's a huge topic. And so for me, if I'm talking about travel, I need to talk about over tourism because that's a topical thing. So I want to make sure I'm putting topics out and videos out and posts out about those topical things. If I'm talking about, you know, oh, are you booking your Christmas vacation now in July? No, people aren't really thinking about that. That's not really helpful. That's not going to go anywhere. That's why it's really important. If you ignore those topical topics, you're going to fall down, okay? Because Twitter is really good for trending topics and answering those things. So know what the topics are in your industry, in your business. Make sure you're following them and talking about them. If there's some big news in your industry, you need to be commenting on it because people are on there to see, oh, you're in travel and you're talking about planes and there was a plane thing going on. What do you know about that? People are going to hear about it. So make sure you're not ignoring those current trends. You're posting about that, because if you don't, it doesn't really fit, because that kind of evergreen content, that's more of a YouTube space than a Twitter space, okay? Now, another mistake people make when it comes to Twitter, and this is one kind of goes back into my video on common mistakes in social media in general, and you should watch that because that goes for a lot of the really common mistakes out there. Like, well, I'll just give you one. Spell check, grammar check. Remember, no matter what you say, no matter what you put out there, no matter how profound it is, if you use the wrong there or your on there or are or whatever, people are not going to listen to what you said. Half the comments will be like, oh, it's hard for me to believe someone that doesn't know the correct use of there. And so you want to make sure you're paying attention to that. And so one of the things you can do is maybe don't necessarily type directly into X or directly into Twitter. Type it up in Google Docs or Word and make sure that the grammar and spelling is okay, and then copy and paste it over, all right? So have those kind of basic things out there. And also, another thing about Twitter is make sure you're posting. You can post a lot more on Twitter than you can other platforms. Like YouTube, you get like 3 things in one day. They're like, okay, you've done enough, right? You've done enough, stop now. Twitter, like, go ahead, do as many things as you want. We're just gonna keep shoving it out there and shoving it out there. So take advantage of that. Make sure you remember that. But in the posts that you do have on X, one thing I would tell you is make sure there's context in every post you have. Because if there's no context, you never know if they're gonna see your first post in the thread or maybe the 5th post in the thread. Make sure it all can kind of stand on its own, because then people kind of have an idea of what's going on, because they can always take your tweet out of context and be like, what are they talking about here? I don't know what this is. So you want to make sure you have these things related so it kind of fits in. Sometimes just make sure that same hashtag's in each one of the parts, or at least have it flow in with it, or have the main topic and then go into your next tweet. Have that in there to help out, because if people don't know the context of what they're seeing, it can give a miscommunication and leads to all kinds of other troubles for you. Because honestly, one thing you don't want people to say when they see your tweets or they see your replies is, what are they even talking about? That is not what you want, all right? Now, the next common mistake you might see when it comes to X is, I wouldn't say like improper formatting, but it could be like confusing formatting, or not having really good formatting with your tweets. Because here's the thing, you want to make it easy for people to read, to digest your tweet, right? So you want to make sure it's not just a bunch of words lined up like this, because then it's easy to scroll by. Use those emojis, use the hashtags, use the things in the right way, so it's much easier for people to get the point. So maybe you have like, oh, the 5 things you need to know, then it's a space, then you have a new line. 1 is this, 2 is this, 3 is this. That's much more easy to read than if it's all like just continuous, whereas 1 is here, then 2 is here, 3 is here, 4 is here, 5 is here, versus that kind of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 going down. Because the formatting makes a difference when people are scrolling. Make it easier to digest, much better chance of being a success. You put it one big blob format, you're kind of going to be out of luck, okay? And kind of going along with that is like, when we're talking about hashtags, look, if you're using too many hashtags, that is an issue. Look, 1, maybe 2 hashtags. That's it. This isn't Instagram where you put a bunch of things on there. Think of it more like in the YouTube way when they're like, look, you can use 3 hashtags with your shorts and that's it. I'd go even less. Have that one key hashtag in there. If you're talking about Paris, have the hashtag Paris or hashtag visit Paris in there, and that's it. Or if it's your business, if you have a hashtag you use, you know, Walter's World for Life, you have that hashtag Walter's World for Life, you know, like these kind of things. That might be something you want to put in there all the time. But if you're using like 5 or 6 or 7 hashtags, it's not helping you. You may think, oh, well, people will search it because of the hashtag. Yeah, some will, but in general, what you're doing is just putting more garbage in there, and it just makes it look like it's more of a spammy kind of post than a post that's supposed to have a connection with people. So try to limit it, 1 or 2 hashtags, that's it. Also, another mistake people make is when they put multiple links in their tweets. Look, 1 link per tweet. Why? Well, I'm on my phone doing this, I can only open one thing at a time. I can only go to one browser at a time. No one goes back for a second link, so make sure you have that specific link you want. That's why it's really important when you're developing things. You want to send people from Twitter places, and I'll be honest, one of the best things about Twitter is getting people to go to your website to learn more. And the thing is, you want to make sure you have a good landing page, and make sure you have a dedicated landing page you're sending people to. Because if you're ESPN and you tweet about, you know, a basketball game, then maybe you'd want to have it so the link that's on there goes to the highlights of that game, not ESPN.com in general, because that's not really what people are looking at. So kind of make sure you're using just 1 link, but the correct link as well, okay? Because if you put too many in there, it turns people off. You're like, wait, which one am I supposed to be clicking on? Is that the one with the highlights, or is that what? You don't want that confusion, because confusion, that gets people to scroll on by. Now, another mistake, and I guess this kind of goes into that formatting thing, is when you only use your words. When I say you only use your words, I mean you only put text in there, and it's not just emojis. I'm talking about using infographics, using pictures, using native, you know, video in X, because using those things, it engages people more. They notice it. You see a picture, because you see a picture, you take it in, you kind of accept it into your eyes. Words kind of fuzz by and you scroll by. Make sure you're using some visuals sometimes to really help people stop, because that's why people love to read infographics. They don't love reading sentences. So if you can put it into a visual form, that's gonna be very helpful. So don't just use words, make sure you're using those visuals out there to help you, okay? So negating visuals and not using visuals, that is a bad thing. And another thing, I don't know why people don't do this, but there's amazing how many businesses will have Twitter, X, whatever, and they'll post and they'll post and they'll post. They'll post tons of stuff, but they don't engage with their customers. There's customers tweet at them, text at them, reply after their post, and they don't say anything. That is a mistake. Look, social media is about being social. It's about interacting with your audience, and that's one of those things with Twitter. People are on there looking for things right away, and so when they comment, they get comments back, and you can have that conversation and learn from your clients. And that's what's so great about social media. You can learn so much from them, but you have to engage with them, and if you don't engage with them, that's one of the biggest mistakes you make on any social media platform, but especially on Twitter. And the thing is that non-engagement isn't just with people tweeting at you and asking you questions. It's also if you're not engaging with other creators on Twitter. That's the thing, is you want to have this lively discussion on there where you're going back and forth and talking about topical things. So if, like, for example, myself, one of my buddies, John Barr, Here Be Bar, is a great vlogger from New York. We'll get on and we'll chat back and forth about travel things on, you know, in New York City, and our back and forth gets people asking questions and inspires people to talk about more stuff. And you can do that, and you can use that to help grow your business, to increase your reach by interacting with other creators on there, all right? Now, there's a lot of other mistakes people make on Twitter, like let's just look at the things you should be posting on there, but in general, I think these are some of the more common mistakes I see brands make when it comes to using X or Twitter, however you want to say it. So what are some of the mistakes you've seen over the years when people are using X? Please let us know in the comments below so we can help other businesses not make those same mistakes. And I'll say bye from a beautiful night here in Paris, France.